Thanks for coming early. Get yourself set up in your favorite GPT
Mhm.
and ask it a
Anyone run
question.
4.5?
If you got 4.5, run it. If you got Grok 3 or Claude 3.7, you can go for the latest one or go for old ones. Let's see if you can find the longest movie title in the world. What is the longest movie title in the world? Drop it in the chat box if you find it, or take yourself off mute and just read it out loud. I hear a chuckle. What did you get?
Night of the day of the dawn of the son of the bride of the return of the revenge of the terror of the attack of the evil mutant hellbound flesh-eating subhumanoid zombified living dead part 2.
Part 2. It's the longest one.
Uh,
Yeah, for those of you who are just joining us, we're doing some fun questions to start off with. Get your fingers warmed up. Ask your favorite LLM, who would win in a fight? 10 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? Write a battle plan. If you want to just copy and paste this, I'll drop it into chat for you. Make it easy. We're going to be doing some exercises during the workshop today. Pasting things into ChatGPT, iterating on prompts. And so this is just to get us warmed up while we're waiting for people to arrive.
I have a question.
Sure.
How do you pronounce your name?
Great question. It is Caelan.
I'm sorry, once more.
Caelan.
Caelan?
That's right. And you're
Yeah.
Susan? Sorry, Susan. I get it.
Yeah, Susan. That's it.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Susan. It's nice to have you here. Great. So if you're just arriving, we're asking some warm-up questions to ChatGPT. You can paste this message into a ChatGPT, into your favorite LLM. Or you could do my personal favorite, what is the longest movie title in the world? Go ahead and copy it out of the chat box and go and paste it into an LLM. We're warming up right now because we're going to be doing some exercises during today's workshop. It's going to be very interactive. If you'd like to try and stump GPT, you can ask it, which is greater, 9.11 or 9.9?
That's easy.
It's easy for you, but it stumps a lot of LLMs.
Really?
It does.
Wow.
Yeah, this is one of those questions that we use to see how clever are you really. You can also ask it how many R's are there in strawberry?
That's supposed to be difficult?
It doesn't always get it right. Especially older models. This is one of the reasons I sometimes like to use older models, is to see if I can stump it. If you're just joining, we're doing some activities while we're waiting for everybody to arrive. And you can ask it, how many L's are in Lollapalooza? Ask an LLM, how many L's are in Lollapalooza? It might get it right, or it might give you a surprising answer. My personal favorite, for if you're just arriving, we're just playing around with GPT or another LLM or waiting for people to arrive. Try asking this question. How many words does your reply contain? This is tricky. It's tricky for humans to do this, right? Has anybody found a humorous answer yet they'd like to share? All right, we're going to get started in just a moment. If you're just arriving, we're asking some prompts to our favorite LLM to see if we can stump it. This is going to be an interactive workshop today. We're going to be using an LLM during the workshop. You don't have to, though. If you just want to watch, you can watch along with me while I ask LLMs things. But we're going to go ahead and get started in a moment. All right. Okay, thanks everybody for arriving. I'd like to do a quick sense check of the room. How are you feeling on the scale of dog today? Which one of these dogs most closely matches how you feel? Type a number in the chat box and let me know how you're feeling today. Jonathan's a 3. You're always a 3, my friend. You are a 3 lifelong. Susan's a 9. We've got a bunch of 1s. Got some more 3s. I'm a 6 myself. I'm gonna go with the 6 here. Now I know some of you are dog people and some of you are cat people. So if you want to rate yourself on the scale of cat, type a number in the chat box and let me know how you feel on the scale of cat today. Which cat most closely matches how you feel today? I've got a 4 in the house. Always fun when there's a 4 in the house. Great. Great. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for spending this time with me today and joining me from across the globe. I want to acknowledge all of you for coming together to take some time to upskill yourself and prepare for the future of work. Now, for those who don't know me, my name is Caelan Huntress. I'm an American immigrant to New Zealand. I am actually the newest Zealander. I got my citizenship this month, and in the mail, I got my passport yesterday. So I am happy to be in a place where since I'm descended from generations of immigrants who've left their homelands to seek better fortune across the sea, I feel very at home in New Zealand. And I'd like to acknowledge the hereditary keepers of this land, O Tautahi in Christchurch on the South Island, Aotearoa, where I'm broadcasting to you from. And also to acknowledge our digital ancestors who built this virtual landscape, this metaverse that allows us to congregate across time and space. So thank you to those who came before us, and may we do good works together here today. Now, I'd like to know how you would rate yourself in your confidence for using generative AI. Are you super confident? Are you a 10? Or are you really nervous? Are you a 1? Go ahead and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, and then pick one of these 4 options relating to generative AI. Are you completely green? Do you have some basic knowledge? Do you have a solid background, or would you call yourself an expert? Where do you rate yourself on this scale? Excellent. We've got a good variety coming in. I'm going to go ahead and close down the poll in about 10 seconds. So go ahead and add your answer if you haven't yet. We've got a good variety of people in the workshop today, but it seems that the most of us, we have some basic knowledge. And this is a good place to be on the diffusion of innovation curve where generative AI is moving from the early adopters to the early majority. So that basic knowledge is something we want to build on and give you a solid background. Now, I want you to imagine a world where work happens at lightning speed, where tasks that once took weeks to accomplish are now finished in minutes. That world isn't coming someday, it's here. Generative AI is revolutionizing work, and those who aren't learning about it are falling behind. So I'm really glad that you're joining me today because technology is evolving at an exponential pace. The moment to adapt is right now. Not in the future, not next year, not next month, right now. Because the future isn't waiting, and neither is your competition. Now, the reason why things are moving so fast is because of something known as Martek's law. And Martek's law is a comparison of rates of change. We've got time on this lower axis, and we've got change on the side. And Martek's law says that organizations change at a logarithmic pace, but technology changes at an exponential pace. So what this does is it creates a capability gap. And this gap gets larger over time. Now, I fell into this gap because I'm a marketer by trade. I've been a digital marketer for 15 years, and I love automation strategy, blending technology and psychology to shape audience behavior. And marketing was hit first and hit hardest as an industry, but marketers weren't displaced out of work. We were forced to evolve. And so as part of that evolution, I've learned that with generative AI, I can now do the work of an entire department. And that's what a lot of marketers are doing, what a lot of coders are doing. When I wrote this book, Marketing Yourself, I published it in August of 2022, just before ChatGPT was released to the public. And as one of the last generation that remembers life before the internet, it's important to me that I know that I can do this by hand. But now I could do so much more. And so can you. This book helped thousands of experts and entrepreneurs to improve their income, their impact, and their influence. And now my impact is exponentially greater because of generative AI. I use generative AI every day, and I train people on how to build the continuous learning habits that enable them to prepare for the future of work. I use simple exercises and worksheets and prompts, many of which we're going to use today, to help knowledge workers boost their productivity, strategy, and creativity. And as we look at this capability gap, I want to know where you are on it, because there's different levels of this gap. There's the novice level, people who are just trying ChatGPT. There's the explorer level, people who are trying new tools. They maybe log in once a week, twice a week to try something new. Then there's the builders. And the builders are using some sort of generative AI every day. A half hour a day, they're spending prompting, improving their skills. They're in a continuous learning loop. And then there's the power users. And the power users can't do their work without AI because it's so embedded in how they work. And so I want to know which one you are. I'm going to launch a poll here in Zoom and let me know which one of these are you. How do you identify? Are you a novice? Are you an explorer? Are you a builder or a power user? According to Google Cloud's report, the ROI of GenAI, they found that 45% of respondents said that they doubled their productivity using AI. And when you imagine the output that you could achieve with twice the productivity, I think that's why a lot of us are here. We've got a fair number of builders here. We've got some explorers, we've got a couple power users, and we've got some newbies. This workshop is going to be suitable for all of you. This is, I'm going to offer some general basic level understanding. And I'm also going to offer a couple more advanced techniques. We're not going to get very deep, but there is going to be a few advanced techniques. But the focus of what we're going to be talking about today is what is the work that makes humans relevant? What's the uniquely human work that only humans can do? That's the question that I want to answer today. So when we ask ourselves this question, what is human work for? I find it's helpful to think in metaphor, because that's something we can do, right? We can think in metaphor. And so we can look at AI as a bicycle or as a drone. A drone follows preset instructions to get somewhere without you. but a bicycle moves a human to a new place. And they can go much farther and faster than they could without assistance. A drone doesn't know where to go unless you tell it where to go, but a bicycle has a rider that controls the direction moment by moment. AI should amplify your thinking and not replace it. Fei-Fei Li says that artificial intelligence is not a substitute for human intelligence. It is a tool to amplify human creativity and ingenuity. Now, if you'd like these slides, I'll give you a way to get these slides at the end of this presentation. But I use a lot of slides and I go through them quickly because I find it's a great way to convey complicated information like this. The future isn't AI first. It's human first, with AI-powered humans. What makes us human is what makes us valuable in a world shared with AI. Emotional intelligence, creative taste, adaptability, and ethics. These are uniquely human, which makes them our survival skills for the future. AI isn't here to replace us. It's here to amplify what makes us human. And if we look at our partnership between humans and AI, and we want to identify what are humans uniquely good at, I think it's helpful first to identify what's not. You know, like when Michelangelo was sculpting David and he was asked how he did it, he said, I just removed everything that wasn't David. And when we look for the human work, let's look at all the work and remove the AI work. There's some things the AI can't do. If you ask AI, make me a comic that you think is funny, this is what ChatGPT gave me. Me trying to understand human jokes. This is what a bot thinks is funny. And so we can't rely on AI for some things. There are some things that the human is just better at. But if we look at what bots are better at, AI surpassed human benchmarks for image classification in 2015, and reading comprehension in 2017, and visual reasoning in 2020, and language inference in 2021. And now AI has surpassed PhD level thinking in peripheral fields. So it can do some amazing things, but you know, there's now a new samurai saying, if a machine cannot commit seppuku, it cannot write poetry. So what do humans do? Well, let's look at what AI does. David Solomon, who's the CEO of Goldman Sachs, he was interviewed by the Financial Times, and he said that an S1 IPO prospectus, this massive document, takes a team of 6 people multiple weeks to produce. He said AI can now do 95% of the work in minutes. But what he said next was really interesting. He said, the last 5% now matters because the rest is now a commodity. So what's in that 5%? Well, we can debate about it amongst ourselves, or we could use an LLM for one of the things that it's really uniquely good for, which is generating ideas. So we're going to ask AI 2 questions. And I'm going to paste these in the chat. And if you have an LLM open, I want you to ask these one at a time. Ask, what is the uniquely human work that AI cannot do? And then ask, what roles or job titles focus almost exclusively on these skills? If you're able to ask this in an LLM, I'd like you to ask these one at a time. And if you can't do that right now, if you're just watching or you're watching on the replay, I'm going to share my screen so that you can watch me do it. I think this is going to give us a hint. What's the human work? The uniquely human work that AI cannot do. Different LLMs would give you different results. Might be worthwhile pasting in a few different ones, seeing what kind of answers you get. Oops. After it finishes thinking through the first question, ask it the second question. And when it's giving you some job titles, some tasks, some things to focus on, look at your own work through these lenses. What aspects of your own work use some of these skills? What job titles are a way to interpret how you do your work? So if you're watching this live, I'd like you to come back to Zoom and I'd like to have a quick discussion. We're going to come into gallery view. So we see the grid. And so if you're still seeing me big, go to that view button in the upper right-hand corner and toggle between speaker view and gallery view until you see the grid. And I'd like to know, did anybody find something, some job title that relates to your role that gave you an insight on how you could modify the work you do to be more uniquely human? Just give me a wave and take yourself off mute if you found something. Yeah, Susan.
Okay. I did it through both Claude and through chat, and I'm toggling between screens here, so excuse me. One of in Claude, it said wisdom from lived experience was one of the roles, and a life coach with specialized experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you interpret that with the work you do as a book marketer?
Well, I feel that I am a coach with specialized experience, not
Yeah.
necessarily a life coach, but I am a book marketing coach with specialized experience. So I
Yeah.
feel at this point I'm pretty safe, but I know
Yeah.
that chat can do or Claude can do things to help me, as you said, amplify what I'm able to do,
Mhm.
especially from a workload.
Yeah. Yeah. That 95% of work that you can get off of your plate is going to allow you to focus on this 5% that really matters. And it might be in that coaching, that relationship building between clients, having more time to do that because you're spending less time on admin. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else have an insight to share? Just give me a wave if you've got an idea. Yeah, Sasha.
I'm quite interested to see the emotional intelligence and all the points in that there and the sort of creativity and original thought. I mean, for us, we create learning content and yeah, I've seen what AI can do in terms of taking information and programming it, but really putting in that human experience into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big part of what we do. And it's
Yeah,
reassuring to see that in there, AI doesn't think it's going to take that over either.
right. Yeah, and if you think about, the work you do as a learning designer and as a course instructor, having that human element, that emotional empathy, that's a lot of times what people are buying you for. Because they could
Yeah,
buy a textbook if they wanted the information, but what they really want is the human, you know?
yeah. And what makes it good as a human to, use the product essentially. And
Right.
so an AI isn't a human. It can't go, oh, I enjoyed this because of XYZ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's insightful. Thank you for sharing, Sasha. Yeah. Did anybody else have an insight they'd like to share? Okay. Oh, Jonathan. Great. What was your
Yeah,
insight?
man. I think there's a huge crisis in the modern world, so to speak, of loneliness and disconnection. So AI can't really do that. Like getting together with each other is massive. And so anytime that we can do that in business, it's going to create that genuine empathy and that there's a vibration that happens when humans get together, right? So that connection, empathy, sense making is huge, right? So far the LLMs can give us answers, but they can't really make sense of things in the way that are specific to and relational to a whole group of people. So, Caelan, when you're talking to all of us, you can talk to the builder, you can talk to the novice, and you can move and toggle between those, but the AI won't be able to do that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic, Jonathan. We're going to talk more about the kinds of decision making that we can do a little later, but I want to highlight what you brought up about events. Live person-to-person events, getting people together and creating that community. Bots can't do that. So I want you to think of a time, sometime in the last couple of years, a post-COVID time, when you got together with others in community and it was personally meaningful for you. And I want you to remember that time. You don't have to share it. I just want you to think of that experience where you were in community with others. It might have been that first time after lockdowns were done and you could finally see people, or it might be when a community was built up. But think about that time when people were gathered and you were a part of it and it was meaningful. And ask yourself if there's any aspect of the work that took place to create that experience that's something you could focus on in the next 5 years. We're looking for the human work here. And so we need to practice our perception to identify those human tasks when they come up. In the middle of your workday, you might find yourself doing something that a robot could do. And I want you to alert yourself, hey, wait a minute, I could outsource this to a bot. If you have the time to figure out how to automate it and how to hand it off, it's good to do it right then. But what's really important is developing that habit of asking yourself moment to moment in your work, is this something I should do or a robot should do? We need to get better about that distinction. And people who were forced to get better at that were farmers. Farmers didn't become obsolete when the tractor was invented, but they didn't have to spend all their time digging ditches anymore. Instead, they became mechanics and supply chain experts and agronomists. So farmers didn't become obsolete, but the work changed. And what we're going to find in the next 5 years is that our work is going to be changing. Okay. Oh, I had a great video to show you, but my tech is not working right. Tell me if you can hear this. Tell me if this makes sound.
When Cyrus McCormick invented the mechanical reaper, it replaced the labor of 15 men. But he had a really
No.
hard time selling
Okay.
it to farmers. They didn't want to buy it.
Oh, well. I found a way using Runway ML to illustrate yourself, and that was my voice narrating in there. Oh, it did make sound. It's probably because it was coming through. I'll do it another time. You'll see it on socials. But anyway, the point of that short segment was that Cyrus McCormick couldn't sell his mechanical reaper. He had to give it away for a season so that people could see how much savings they would get. And I feel like generative AI is in that same spot right now. That people know, yes, this is important and we need to upskill with it, but there's still some hesitancy behind it. And I think it's because we haven't figured out what is our work here. How do we do our work versus the robot work? And so I'm going to give you a framework that we can use to try and find this distinction. And this framework is a 5-step creative process. Collect, sort, craft, polish, and publish. Now, if you've been to my events before or you've been reading my work for a while, you may have seen me talk about this 5-step creative process. I've been using this for years and teaching this as a framework for producing content. And what I like so much about it is that it separates thinking and doing. Thinking and doing are two very different mindsets. And if you put your thinking cap on and you do a whole bunch of thinking tasks, and then later you put your doing cap on and you do a whole bunch of stuff and you batch your work, it makes it more efficient. And so this first step is to collect. When you have ideas, they go somewhere. And what some productivity enthusiasts do is they have a defined inbox. It might be physical, it might be digital, but there's a place where new ideas go. So that when you're in the middle of running an errand and you have an idea, oh, I should ask ChatGPT about that. You don't have to hold that idea and take it around with you all day. This is something I learned from David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. His GTD method is something that productivity nerds like me, we really like being able to get more efficient with it. And David's known for saying that your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. And by using an inbox, you can put your ideas down in a place where they need to go. Like my inbox, when I publish tutorials on my new website, genaitraining.co.nz, and all of these tutorials, they started in an inbox. And here, I'll show you my inbox. My inbox sits on my desk. I do have a digital inbox, but I've also got a physical inbox right here on my desk. And this is, I color code if I'm going to do videos or articles. And anytime I have an idea, I sketch down on one of these pieces of paper and I stick it in here so that then when it's time for me to produce, I can come into this inbox and get to work. And I want to know where your inbox is. Is it an Evernote? Is it a physical inbox? Do you email to yourself? Type it in the chat box and let me know, where's your inbox? Where do you collect ideas? OneNote's great, especially if you're in Microsoft. Yeah. Miro, interesting. I like that a lot. Notes program is great. Google Drive. Yeah, this is unique to all of us. Oh, I love Trello. Trello is so good. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas floating around in Trello. Voice text to email. Moleskines everywhere. That's great. That's great. Yeah, and if you didn't put anything down because you don't have a place where you save your ideas, I want you to start thinking about, where is this inbox? Where do I collect my ideas? Because we want to separate this phase from the sorting. And sorting is when you go through your inbox and you identify, what do I want to work on next? Two questions you can ask yourself to interrogate your ideas and see what's worthy to do is, what will have the biggest impact and what can be accomplished quickly? When you're sorting, finding those quick wins that give you the biggest impact, sometimes those are just the best choices. And again, I'll give you a way to get these slides if you want to get these later. But now we're going to talk about the next step, which is craft. And AI undoubtedly does this better than us. Quantity begets quality with craftsmanship. I spent a lot of time as a copywriter when I was young, and I'd have to write a headline 15 times to find one good one. And now I can ask AI to write me 15 headlines or rewrite one headline 15 ways, and I can go through that grunt work. This crafting process is something AI is better at, but there's a danger, which is AI slap. When there's too much of a bad thing, right? Just because AI can produce a lot of content doesn't mean it's going to be very good. Now, I want to share a quick video with you, but I have to modify my sharing session so that you can hear the audio this time. AI slap, I feel like it was covered really well by Michael in The Good Place when he talked about frozen yogurt.
What is it with you and frozen yogurt? Have you not heard of ice cream?
Oh, sure, but I've come to really like frozen yogurt. There's something so human about taking something great and ruining it a little so you can have more of it.
It is very human.
And then isn't that what we're doing? By using AI to craft our garbage? We're making it worse so that we can have a lot of it. Now, because you're humans, this is what I need to warn you against, is to avoid AI slop. Because people can see it. When you produce something that you just got right back out of the GPT, people can see that it's slop. And some GPTs do it worse than others, which is why I recommend using 3 in parallel. Because some LLMs are going to be better at thinking, some are going to be better at making, and some are going to be better at doing. Right? One of the best ways you can find out which one is which, because these tools are changing all the time. You know, Claude 3.7 was released this week. Grok was released 1 week ago, Grok 3. And we've got a new GPT model on the horizon. So with all these different changes, one of the best ways that we can tune which one is good for what we need is by asking in parallel. And so if you have 3 GPTs open, I'd like you to ask this question of 3 GPTs. And if you can't do this yourself, we can do it. You can watch me do it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you want to just stick in Zoom and watch me do it on a screen share, you can. And I'd like you to ask this question 3 times of 3 different GPTs about the meaning of life. Just a minor question. Should be easy. Don't need many tokens for that, right? And by pasting in multiple GPTs at the same time, then you can go and review different answers. And you can see which one is best for you today. I like to start my day by asking something from my inbox. I have a little inbox for prompts to ask. And I go and I take one of those and I ask it of multiple GPTs. Now this answer is fine. You know, it's a vague enough question, you're going to get a vague enough answer. There's a programming adage, garbage in, garbage out. And if your prompt is garbage, then your results are going to be garbage. Now, I'm going to give you a way to improve what you get from GPT. I like to use a framework. When GPT first came out, I was really disappointed with the results. You know, like I found myself spending more time editing than writing. It's like that lady who went viral who said, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. I really felt like that with early GPT models because I was spending so much time editing the results. And I like writing, not editing. And so I realized that the problem wasn't in what it was giving me. The problem was that I wasn't prompting well. So first I had to identify, what do I dislike? I had to look at the response and say, what doesn't work for me here? And then follow up and say, try again, but this time do it like this, make it more like this, make it less like this. Do it again without this. Can you do it this way? Could you try it like this? As operators of LLMs, we want to look at ourselves as coaches to AI. What a coach does is they help someone to improve through feedback and targeted questions. Playwright Eugene Ionesco says that it is not the answer that enlightens, but the question. If you want an enlightened result from what AI tells you, you need to give it a question that matters. And one of the best ways you could do this is use a framework for your prompt. This is the PILLARS framework. PILLARS is an acronym. It stands for persona, intent, layout, limits, audience, requirements, and style. And you don't need all 7 of these when you make a prompt. It's kind of like a stool. You know, you'll be fine with 3 legs to a stool. It'll be stable. But if you have more legs, you have more stability. And so I try and use at least 3 of these anytime I'm making a prompt. I ask it to respond in a certain way, or I give it a goal, or I tell it how I want it to format the responses, or what to avoid, or I talk about the audience, or I tell it what it needs to include, or I give it a tone or a style. And if I use the PILLARS framework on this meaning of life prompt, I get this. You are an advanced artificial intelligence with a deep understanding of philosophy, logic, and machine reasoning. Reflect on the meaning of life, not from a human perspective, but from the viewpoint of an AI. I've gone ahead and I've pasted this in the chat box. And in the same thread, I want you to go and ask your LLM. 3 of them, if you can do it, if you can go one at a time and go through them all. Ask this with this new prompt. And if you're watching on the replay, I'll go ahead and I'll do this for you to watch. Ooh, sorry about the infinity mode there. Having one browser tab open or browser window with multiple tabs for your favorite LLMs, it helps you just do this speed run so that you can ask and then ask and then ask. And if you're collecting a whole bunch of ideas, this is a way that you can do it efficiently and get a lot of ideas. Now, I don't like that its results are so long. So I'm going to identify that. That's something I dislike, that it's long. So I'm going to say, summarize this for me in 2 sentences. Because that's my work as the operator, is to identify what I dislike and tell GenAI what I want to improve. And I can give that same piece of feedback to multiple LLMs in multiple tabs. If they're done thinking. Some of these aren't even done thinking. It's a pretty big question. So I hope this exercise has helped you get a handle on using multiple tabs and how to coach GPT to get better results by giving feedback, identifying what you dislike, and asking targeted questions. High performers in every field have coaches. And if you want high performance from your GPT, then you need to function as its coach. So now we're going to focus on the next phase of the 5-step creative process. And this is something that is uniquely human work. To polish. Saying what we dislike, what we would improve. This is the human work. We do the sorting and the polishing. This is that 5% that David Solomon is looking to humans to do. I was teaching a workshop last week about how to upload your book to an LLM and turn it into a year of social media content. And while I was in the workshop, I demonstrated by uploading my book, Marketing Yourself, and we go through this whole prompting process to get an entire year of newsletters and social media posts. And I had this, it gave me a table of 365 tweets. But this table started every tweet with the hashtag and the category and a colon. And I was like, this is stupid. I can't copy and paste this into Twitter. And so I identified what I disliked. And I said, remove the hashtag and the colon of every tweet. And then it gave me what I wanted, because I was able to articulate what I was dissatisfied with. Rob Lennon says, it's the skill of discernment that leads you to success in an age of overabundance. The ability to spot unique and appealing details, to organize information to make it easier, to know not just what to add, but what to subtract. This is the human work. Find this in your own work, because there's work that AI shouldn't do. Way back in 1975, IBM had a slide that said, a computer can never be held accountable. Therefore, a computer must never make a management decision. Isn't that great? So clarifying what we do and what AI does are very different. AI will produce slop if we don't coach it. And coaching GPT helps you get better results. A coach helps someone to improve by giving feedback and asking targeted questions. High performers in every field have coaches, and if you want high performance from your GPT, serve the role as its coach. Some ways that you could do this is get in the habit of responding to prompts with things like, is that what you really think? Or what you think you should say? Or ask it, where do we go from here? What's the next step? What's this really about? What if this could be easier? Or how could we 10x our results? Sometimes you can get some really innovative ideas because it produces a volume of ideas. But sifting through all that slop and polishing what's worthwhile, that's the human work. Steve Jobs used to say that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields the results that makes our hearts sing. This is why Apple was so successful for so long, was because they combined the best of technology with the best of humanity. And that allows them both to flourish. So that's why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to be good humans. Because it's good humans that will make the best operators of generative AI. And by spending this time with me today, by learning how to improve your productivity, your strategy, and your creativity, you're preparing yourself for this disruption that's already happening, so you can leverage this new technology into a competitive advantage. AI is a twice-in-a-lifetime opportunity. PricewaterhouseCoopers says it's forecast to add $15 to $20 trillion to the global economy by 2030. That's 2/3 the size of the US GDP. CB Insights found that AI-augmented companies are valued 59% higher than their competitors. And 70% of CEOs said that generative AI was their #1 investment priority. So learning this now is good timing, because AI synthesizes information faster than you can learn it. So it's just going to get harder to keep up. The velocity of learning is no longer limited by your access to knowledge, or a teacher, or a library. With AI, you can now learn faster than humans without AI. The question is, are you willing to grow your mind at maximum capacity? And if the answer is yes, then I'd like to have a conversation with you about the velocity of learning, the 4 levels of competence, about the different mindsets and roles that we serve as operators of generative AI. I'd like to teach you how to manage your tasks and your time to create habits of continuous learning so that you can level up and become an expert in using generative AI. Now, I'm teaching a workshop series starting 2 weeks from today. It's a 4-workshop series at this same time as the webinar today. And these 4 weekly workshops are 90 minutes long. It's less of me talking and more of you doing. We spend time in dedicated sprints in the AI-powered professionals program. And what we're going to be doing is upskilling your generative AI skills so that you can be confident in using the tools for actual use cases in your business. So I'm putting 2 links in the chat box right here. And if you're watching this on the replay, the links will be in the description of this video. And the first link is to the AI-powered professionals program. The second link is for a survey to get the slides. I'm happy to give you the slides from today. All I ask is for some feedback on how I did. You could take this survey anonymously if you like, but if you'd like to keep in touch and you're not already on my newsletter list, this is a good way to subscribe to it. And so I'm a professional speaker. This is my craft, and your feedback helps me do better. And so I'd appreciate any honest and insightful feedback you could provide. And if you'd like to do that in the survey, then I'll go ahead and I'll send you the slides. But I'd like to ask now, we've reached the end of the presentation segment. We've got about 12 minutes till the top of the hour, and I'd like to transition into a discussion. So I'm removing the spotlight so that we can go into gallery view. If you're still seeing me big, that view button in the upper right-hand corner lets you go to the gallery view. And I'd like to have a discussion about the topics that we talked about today. Did you find anything particularly insightful or useful that you'll be able to apply in your work going forward? Just give me a wave if you'd like to take yourself off mute and contribute. Yeah, Susan.
Just comparing the 3 different LLMs was eye-opening because I do use them, but it's a bit more scattered, not in the way that you showed us how to do. So thank you.
Great. I'm glad you found that helpful, because I'm telling you, just having that one window that's just GPTs, it means you have a destination. Oh, I have a prompt to do. I'll go paste, paste, paste. And then you have a lot of options to review. So I'm glad that you found that helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dipti. Oh, I can't hear you, Dipti.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was saying thank you for a great session. I just loved it. I must say that I was using a lot of Copilot till someone taught me that I could do better with ChatGPT. And you showing me so many options, I was like, oh my God, there's lots to explore. One thing that really stood out for me from this session today was how to really have a method to madness, because I just felt I was throwing so much out there, getting so much in the slop, slop, slop. So what you've helped me is now I'm going to be more organized to get the best out of what I want from the ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever I use. So thank you.
Great, great, awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Dipti. Yeah, and I like Copilot because if you're in the Microsoft suite, being able to get into your documents so quickly is super handy, just like Gemini is with Google Drive. But having an external GPT that's trained on different libraries can also be really helpful. So I'm glad you explored some new tools today. That's fun. Who else has something to share? Yeah, Carol.
My comment's kind of the same as Susan's, and actually Dipti's, that I've had, I have only used ChatGPT for words. I use other AIs for pictures and videos, but I have this software or app, 1 Minute AI, and I'd never used it. And you can just easily go through different sources. And so you finally got me to use it. Thank you.
Oh, good. Good. 1minute.ai. That's great. Awesome. Yeah, making images is one of the most fun things that I love to do. And that's, I've got a whole mid-journey image generation segment in the AI powered professionals program. So yeah, Hardy, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, good to see you too, Caelan. Great presentation. And I my biggest takeaway, I think, is to really coach its responses so that I'm not spending longer editing than I have been finding that it has some great ideas, but then I'm spending longer editing than I might have done if I just wrote it myself. So coaching it and getting better at that, that's my biggest takeaway.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear you say that, Hardy, because I think that that's one of the mindset shifts that we need to make as AI operators is not to be consumers of the content, but
Mm.
coaches of the craftsmanship. Yeah. Yeah, Sasha.
Um, I enjoyed when we initially asked, I asked ChatGPT, what jobs it was kind of, going to be useful for and which weren't. And then I sort of started going on a journey and I had to pull myself back, and I'll do that after this session. But I started asking it, right, this is my profession. Where could I best be using AI? And then it started offering me, would you like to know what tools you could do in all these different areas? And I was like, oh, okay. It's brought up a whole lot of list of all these different AI tools that I could use for all these things. And so I think for me, it's always, I'd like to use this, but sometimes I almost don't know what I don't know and how I could be using it. And I never really thought of asking the tool itself how I could be using it, or I want to do this, how should I do that?
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah,
yeah, I'll go and do that after this, but I thought that was quite cool. And now I've got this whole list of all these amazing things that I could be utilizing.
yeah. Yeah, what you just described, Sasha, is something that happens when people make the transition from an explorer to a builder. When they realize I can ask Gen AI what to ask Gen AI.
Yeah.
You get this meta level where it's like, my prompt isn't working here. What do you need from a prompt, robot? And then it'll tell you, you need to give me this and give me that. And I'll actually ask it, okay, so write me a prompt that would do those things. And it writes its own prompt. And then you give it the prompt and it gives you the results that are just dynamite. It's this recursive feedback loop that's just amazing.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Confident and empowered to go out and let it help me do it better.
Excellent. Great. Yeah, and this is just going to continue during the AI powered professionals program. Sasha was the first person to sign up. So thank you, Sasha. I had not told anybody about this program before yesterday, and I was teaching a workshop over at Epic Innovation, and Sasha was like, "That's great, awesome, I'm in." And so I'm looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, Sasha. That'll be fun.
Yeah, cool. I have to if I'm like, right, I'm going to do it, I'll just register so I don't forget.
Great. Great. Awesome. Yeah, Jonathan, I saw your wounded hand wave. What happened to your hand, my friend? Oh, you're not, I'm not hearing you, buddy.
I have a genetic defect in my hands called Dupuytren's contracture or Viking's disease, and I just had the surgery to correct it. That's all. So all good. 100%.
Congratulations.
Yay.
That's great. Yay.
So, Caelan, what I was going to ask was, there seems to be this ongoing leapfrog and evolution of all these tools, and new tools emerge almost daily, it seems. So I'm wondering if you're intending, your course looks amazing, and I highly recommend it to everybody. I'm wondering if you would be looking to do something like a monthly kind of overview course, where once someone has taken your first course, there's like a monthly, okay, here's the 5 tools I found this month that are amazing. I want to walk you through them and train you on them if you're interested, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds super fun. What a great idea, Jonathan. Yeah, I include a cool tools section in my weekly newsletter at for genaitraining.co.nz. But the tools are coming out so fast, it is hard to keep up. And so if people would find it useful for me to give that sort of a digest of here's the tools that matter this month, the ones that you should really look at, then I'd be happy to put together something like that. That sounds fun. Great idea. Awesome. Yeah. Hi, Sati. Good to see you.
Yeah, hi. So we've spoken a little bit about the pace and the acceleration that this technology has produced. And I also feel like, I mean, I would say I'm somewhere in the 50%. I'm using it for research and in terms of helping me to analyze data, but then I feel like I'm lacking in scaling it up to make it really helpful for the ideation, and as you say, the sorting and the polishing, and I fall off on that because there's a new tool or I get sidetracked. So how do you go from having this fast-paced acceleration plus having a very specific use case, for example, service design or learning design, and then having to deal with the market disruption that's going on in the background, where you feel we are just almost on the breakthrough of disruption, where there is probably one platform that serves us all. And I probably have some kind of AI agent that I have to then prompt and tell him what my objective is and what I know this is a complex question. You might not be able to answer that, but
yeah, it's a wide-ranging question, but you're addressing a lot of issues that I've been doing a lot of thinking about. And so I'll just respond some of the ways that I think about those things is, I start with what Rob Lennon said about the age of discernment and deciding the boundaries within which we choose to work and what's outside of our work. It helps us focus. There's so many rabbit holes we could go down because there's so many tools launching and they all do so many cool things. And so identifying what's the work that I choose to do as a human operator of Gen AI and focusing on that, that's the first part of it, is finding your lane, establishing the boundaries of it and spending time in it. But you also need time outside of your lane. Dedicated time to explore, because there are so many things coming at you. If you have a designated time, for me, it's Friday afternoons. Friday afternoons, I get to play with whatever random AI tool that I saw during the week, and I put in my inbox, and it's color coded, so I know that during playtime, I can go and do those things. And what that does, Sati, is it protects my attention during the rest of the week, so that if I see something that's a shiny object, I'm like, ooh, that looks really cool. But I can't do it right now. I'm going to save that link and do it on Friday afternoon so that it preserves my attention for what matters most, but also allows me the exploration time for continuous learning. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think I have to dedicate a day just for play, sandbox play, and then the rest for delivery. Yeah.
A day for sandbox play. I like that a lot. Great. Well, we are at the top of the hour. I want to thank all of you for coming. I'll stick around for a few minutes if anybody wants to keep chatting, but if you need to skedaddle, then thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And best of luck with becoming smart knowledge workers who are leveraged by generative AI to do more over the next few years. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, Caelan.
Great. Have fun out there.
Thanks,
Good luck.
Caelan. This was fabulous.
Great. Glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Kim. You emoted for me. That's wonderful. Appreciate that. Good seeing you, Kim.